Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci fi show where things can get totally radical. Now, today I will be interviewing yet another cast member from the 1982 underrated classic Girls' Night Out, also known as the Scaremaker, Laura Summer. A lot of you who grew up in the 80s and you watched the Real Ghostbusters cartoon, she was the first voice of Janine. And she was perfect for it. She has a real Annie Potts type of voice, little, Jewish Brooklyn voice. It's really adorable. And I'm going to be interviewing her today. I can't wait. It's going to be pretty cool. She's also done a lot of other voiceovers for stuff, like the most recent Garfield cartoon she did and a bunch of other stuff I'd never even heard of that she did. And she also had appearances in movies like Hard to Hold. Her and another guest of the show, Tiffany Helm, they were both female fans at Rick Springfield's concert in the movie. And so I'm going to ask her about that and stuff. And it's going to be pretty cool. I can't wait. So, yeah, here is my interview with Laura Summer.
Hello.
Hey, Laura, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you?
Oh my God, I am just great. It's such an honor because I've always I've always found your voice to be sexy.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, it's funny. I've been getting some of that lately, but it's just and it's old stuff. But all of a sudden, people are saying, come sending me little messages or writing to me on Twitter or Facebook and saying, "You're the sexiest cartoon character ever." So I don't know. It's having like a renaissance or something.
Well, that's good because they're absolutely right.
Well, that's very kind.
Oh, my pleasure. So did you know at an early age you wanted to perform?
I did, but I didn't know what I thought that meant being Shirley Temple because I had the curls, and people would say, "You're so cute," or they would say, "I love her voice," and because it was very distinct, I guess, as a little girl too. It's very high, and so yeah, I did, but I really didn't know what that meant.
Hmm. You, but how'd you get bitten by the acting bug?
Well, I wanted to do it as a kid, and I grew up in Queens, New York, but there wasn't really any local theater. It's funny, there really wasn't any opportunity, and I would see things in the newspaper, but nobody would take me into the city, Manhattan, um, and I wasn't allowed to, go by myself. Like I would see casting calls and stuff like that. So it was sort of, I just had to find my own way and do it myself when I was old enough.
Well, New York is such a theater town. They didn't have a whole lot of opportunities back then.
Well, I grew up in Queens, which is a part of New York City, but it's not. It's pretty spread out, and so in order to get to Manhattan as a teenager, you would have to take two buses and a train.
Hmm.
So that wasn't going to be happening for, a 10-year-old or a
Yeah.
12-year-old or even, and I went to college very young at 16. So then when I uh, dropped out of college, then, then I went to New York City and said, here I am.
Wow. Were you influenced by anybody iconic?
Well, do you even know who Shirley Temple is?
Oh, I know everybody. I'm a fanboy. I know everybody.
Okay, so that was, the first, watching those old movies and my mother made those kind of curls, so I guess, I knew I wasn't adopted because she was always looking for parents, but I think that was my first influence, and she sang, and I didn't dance or anything like that, but I just felt, close to that. I wanted to be that. I wanted to be a singing, dancing performer in the movies. I didn't even know what it meant. I just knew that I wanted to do something, and I didn't really do anything till high school senior year. Um, we had like one play a year,
Mm-hmm.
and wasn't a lot because they were always talking about cutting back the arts, and they did. And so even though it's a theater town and there's all that, I'm sure it's very different now, but that was my experience. So once I was old enough and I went to New York, I just started taking classes and and doing some theater. And then the first paid gig was really a commercial with Paul Newman.
Mm-hmm.
I think my first paid gig where I went to the Bahamas with Paul Newman and played a teenager babysitting for her little sister. And why they had to go to the Bahamas to do this commercial, I have no idea.
I didn't even know Paul Newman did commercials.
Oh, yes, he did. He did them for Japan, and we weren't allowed to tell anyone. And a lot of celebrities back then, they were paid a few $1,000,000, and they were for, I think it was for, I did so many commercials. I think this was for Taster's Choice. It was some kind of coffee. I couldn't even tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And they got popular. I know that somebody I know did one with Kelly Savalas.
Yeah.
I don't know, Paul Newman, Kelly, and then someone else I knew did one with somebody famous, and they were told they couldn't speak to him, but I didn't really have a whole lot of interaction with Paul. It wasn't like their commercials are very different. They're like scenic, you
Yeah.
know, and so he was like watching us, and I had more interaction with his makeup man, who did take a photo of us, but I think my mother threw it out. I don't know where it is.
Wow. Yeah. Um, God, I'm trying to think. What was it? Was it for Paul Newman's products?
No, it was for coffee.
Wow.
I think this was way before he had his own Paul Newman product, salad dressing and stuff.
Huh. Wow. I wonder if it's on YouTube.
I wonder. I don't know, but it was not for this country, but it was supposed to be just a beautiful pool. I don't know why they didn't just have us go to Miami or something. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Just go out of the country, but it was very exciting.
I can imagine. Yeah. How did you get the role of Jane in Girls' Night Out?
Well, it was actually a commercial casting director that was given. Was doing a lot of commercials, and this was like a big deal in that the horror movies in New York. There was not a lot of filming in New York going on like there is, that came later
Yeah.
of these teen kind of horror movies, and she brought me in, and I got the part, and it was a very interesting experience.
Yeah, I've talked to Rutanya 3 times, and I've talked to Julie Montgomery twice. I'm having her on
Oh,
again.
wow.
I'm having her.
Wow.
I'm having her on again in a couple of weeks. Um, yeah, Britannia told me that movie was allegedly shot in an entire weekend.
Well, no, I don't think it was a weekend. It was like a few weeks, but I don't want to get into a fight with her. But there was, to me, I was very excited, and I thought, wow, this is so. And it was a night shoot, and I'm supposed to be smoking pot with my girlfriend, and one of the producers actually was there with a stopwatch because we got one take and that was it. And I had been on movie sets before, but not with such a big speaking part like that. I just couldn't believe they weren't about the work and, getting a good performance and, that he had a stop. And I think they shot another, little part of it, but basically everything was, Britannia's right, it was really, really fast paced. Maybe she shot her whole part, but she wasn't part of the sorority fraternity. She was doing a different part, so that's maybe what she meant, that they shot her whole part in a weekend.
Yeah, that's what Julie said too. Yeah, it was probably just her scenes were shot in a weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it was really quick. I was in some scenes with Julie, like we had some party scenes, and, I haven't seen her since, but so it's been a long time. So tell her I say hi.
Absolutely, I sure will. Britannia's acting in this movie really shines because you see her as this charming person at the burger place in a couple scenes. Then she's this cold, sociopathic psychopath at the end,
Yeah, but I never met her. I don't think I even, she's not in any of, like, the scenes with the girls, and at least the sorority girls. And so it wasn't until I saw the movie that, I don't even know if we read a whole script. They do stuff like that. They give you your pages, or they change stuff, and, and I get killed halfway through, so that was it for me.
Yeah.
But I did have to go for my first prosthetics, I guess it was called, get a fitting for, like, I get mauled by the bear, and I had to go and get a mold made and fitted for that. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Julie had one scene with Britannia, and she said they got along very well. And Britannia is a very sweet lady, I have to say.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Did you have any interaction with Hal Holbrook?
Nobody did. Not even his son that was shot. No, really? His son is in the movie, too?
Yeah.
And now this could be a rumor, and my recollection could be a little, fuzzy about it, but if you notice, if anyone watches the film, the lighting is different when Hal's talking to, I think it's a scene with his son, and I think they weren't, I don't know if they weren't speaking. I mean, these are just rumors that we heard, and that, so that's why Hal agreed to do it, but the lighting's completely different. It's sort of like on the waterfront when Marlon Brando's talking to his brother. I could have been a contender. They weren't even in the same, supposedly, they weren't in the car at the same time.
Yeah, there's a scene in the movie where Julie and her boyfriend are in bed, and he farts and gives her a Dutch oven. And I asked Julie if that fart was real, and she said she didn't remember. And I was like, if it was real, I wouldn't forget that. I mean, she.
Yeah, but it's like she's worked so much and do a lot of different jobs, and you just you're there, and then you focus on the next thing, and
Yeah.
and you just laugh about it and go, what's next?
Yeah. I told her, I said, God, she looked like she was about ready to die from the stink, so it had to be real.
But she's a really good actress.
Yeah, she is a very good actress. Were you satisfied with your death?
I thought I was adorable in the movie, actually.
You were.
Especially being I didn't get any, like, one or two takes of everything, and I just thought I mean, I haven't seen it in years, but I thought my being high was superb.
Yeah. I mean, he made you look like you had like an S&M torture,
Yeah, and it was a little crazy. I think it was a seminary that we were shooting in, and I remember they kind of wet me down, and then they sort of went to lunch. It was freezing. And sometimes it's not, all glamour.
Yeah. The last shot of Rutanya as a man is very creepy, and I posted it on Facebook last Halloween, and I tagged her in it, and I said, Rutanya, you've never looked better, and she loved that.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. No, I think I've met her, but
an absolute treasure, that woman, I'll tell you. And Girls' Night Out is one of my favorite slasher movies.
You're kidding.
Nah.
Wow. Wow. Well, I thought she was married to somebody in the cast. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, her husband was Richard Bright, who was in The Godfather.
And are they not together?
He died in 2006, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He got hit by I think a cab in New York or something.
That is so, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is horrible, and it's also crazy because 2 years ago I was struck by a bus in London.
Mhm.
A double-decker bus hit me straight on, and I almost died, and I have only talked about this once because I didn't know how it was going to turn out because my skull was cracked, my nose, my cheekbones. And once they let me fly back, I did all the fixing back in Los Angeles. But I just stepped off the curb. So everybody, if you go to Europe, you have to look both ways.
Yeah, I got hit by a car 3 years ago. There was a drunk misadventure between me and
in a car?
Yeah, between.
Oh, see, I was just standing. I mean, it was anyway, it was pretty horrible.
I spent 30 days in a coma and 5 months in the hospital.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah.
Not a good thing for everyone to have in common.
Nope, but it shows how strong you are, and an incident like that makes you stronger, you know?
Well, it sort of changes your perspective, don't you think?
Yeah, like I didn't even think about even having a podcast at that time. I was a lost soul during those years.
Yeah, it's like a blur, like during, I had a lot of trauma, I couldn't drive it. No, I couldn't, my foot was broken from the fall, not from it was all my face.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't tell anybody because I didn't know how I would sound when I came out of it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you fully recovered now?
I fully recovered. I mean, I got bad arthritis in my leg after breaking it, and I had gallstones. I had to get my gallbladder out, and I had a heart attack, and they put a stent in me. Just all these things, and I'm just lucky to be alive, and I'm so blessed.
Where were you? What city?
San Francisco.
Oh wow.
That's where I'm from. Yeah.
And you were in a car.
We were in a car. I fell asleep in the passenger seat. Then he fell asleep at the wheel. We ended up in the middle of the road. We got out fine, but then a car collided with ours, and the impact hit us.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I don't even remember it too. I mean, everything.
You do?
I don't remember it. Just.
I don't remember anything. I remember waking up in the hospital.
Me too.
And I heard them say, "We have a room for her," but we knew that was it. And in England, they were, because you can't fly with air in the brain, So we were trying to make arrangements of what to do,
Right.
And because it was all just the way it happened, it wasn't like gushing blood or anything. I mean, my nose and mouth, but it wasn't an immediate fix. You have to decide what to do and where to. And so some specialists came to see me, and they told me, well, they were talking about my options, and they said, well, we have to move your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. Because, I didn't even know what they were saying. It was like I didn't even realize how hurt I was. I thought I had no idea. I just thought, I lost some teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I texted my dentist. That's what I thought, I fell down, and I didn't realize I was struck full on by a bus. And I weigh 110 pounds, and they said that's what saved my life. Because it threw me away rather than under, So, and of course, when I got here, they were like, if they had moved your eyes, forget it, And the thing is, the miracle of this all is I look exactly the same as I did before.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I mean, people say better, but I don't know. But because it's like, but yeah, I feel your pain.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I was 350 pounds when I had the accident, and I woke up at 190, and I left at 220 because by the last month I was there, I was able to eat finally,
Right.
and I gained all the weight back, but now I'm halfway losing again and stuff because
Oh wow,
all that.
yeah, it does come off. Yeah, by the time I came out of Cedars here, yeah, I weighed 98 pounds. Not good, um, but not a when you break your jaw, and then they have to re-break it. But it was nothing on your face, right? It was all in your body, right?
Yeah, just my leg, my sternum, stuff like
Mm.
that. My hand, yeah.
Wow, wow, yeah. So, wow. Well, you sound good, and look what you're doing now. It's fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, let's go back to your credits.
Okay.
So you did 3 episodes of The Facts of Life.
Yeah, I actually did more because I did the finale, and it was like the, some kind of special thing, like a double episode, and then they were talking about a spin-off show, which they eventually did, but not with me. But they were they were trying. I was back in New York, and there was talk about having me come on that show, which would have been totally cool. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and um, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Alex Rocco was in them, and
Yep.
Marge Doucet. Yeah, that must have been pretty honorable for
Well,
you.
they're the parents, so it's
Yeah,
not like you have that much interaction like when you're a kid or playing a kid and you're with the other kids. It's not like you're hanging out with the parents. Though I did talk with Alex quite a bit, and he was a really nice man, and I remember Marge fondly as well. Um, but and actually they were friendlier than the cast because the cast had been together for a while, so you know, they're kind of, used to hanging out together.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of my favorite sitcoms, The Facts of Life.
How funny.
In 1984, you and another guest on this show, Tiffany Helm, played fans at the Rick Springfield concert in Hard to Hold.
Right.
Yeah, how was that?
Well, that was really exciting because they had cast us both, and then they turned to me after at the end of the day. I don't even know if she's in the scene at all. I remember her, sweet, pretty girl, and they said, "We're taking you to San Francisco to be in the movie." And they did, and they took me to San Francisco for 3 weeks. But I didn't do, this is show business for you.
Yeah.
I didn't really do any more filming. They took me, they put me up in a hotel, they paid me, they had me come to the set a couple of times because they were going to have me, show up all over the movie chasing Rick Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
But they had, I don't really know, what happens, but I remember being, was very sweet and innocent looking, and they had me come to some where these other fans were who were like biker fans, and you
Yeah.
couldn't put me with them. It just looked stupid. So they didn't have me work in the scene, and but I made the money. I hung out, and then they sent me home back to LA.
Oh.
But the day that I shot opens and closes the movie where I'm screaming, "Grab his towel! Grab his towel!"
Yeah, I think she told me that she was in it more, but they cut her, and she was just in like maybe a quick shot or two or something.
Oh, you spoke to Tiffany.
That's why, yeah, I mean that's what I meant when I said she's been a
Oh,
guest
okay.
on the
No, I
show.
know. I remember her name, and I remember, but I don't, I was so over the top.
Hmm.
Like, out of my way. Just,
Yeah, she told me she was not a fan of Rick's music, but she thought that he was very good looking.
Well, that okay.
so,
That's
so what?
funny.
Yeah. So what made you get into voiceover work?
Oh, well, just the opportunity. I was doing a lot of commercials. Did a lot of commercials for Hanes. I did 8 big commercials for Hanes underwear,
Mm-hmm.
and I did some voiceovers for them. And then in those days, the departments of the agencies were very separate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they still are. I guess they are, but it was just really separate. And then I think one of my agents became a voice agent and then set me up for something, and then I got it. And it was that kind of progression. The voiceover stuff came out of the commercials, really.
Mm-hmm. Did you do uncredited voices for the Chipmunk Adventure?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's probably one of the inaccurate IMDb things. I was really excited if you did because I've loved that movie since I was 7.
Yeah, I don't think so. But there's a lot of stuff. I mean, my Wikipedia stuff has disappeared. Somebody deleted it. Some horrible person. Anyone can go into Wikipedia and do it. And it's very difficult to get. It's like the links are dead. Like I was on Garfield for 5 years,
Right.
and so Mark Evanier is trying to help me get my pages back, but then I sort of, um, been busy with other stuff, so I haven't really put that much energy into it, but it will be back. And then I don't even know about IMDb, that credit, but if you say it's there, I believe you.
Yeah.
You
I've
get hit by a bus, your priorities change.
I've interviewed a lot of people, especially in the last couple of weeks, who have told me that their IMDb is not accurate. They told me about stuff they did I didn't even know about, and stuff that
Oh,
I had to go watch to find them in. And yeah, it's just I don't get why IMDb is like that.
well, you know how it started with some guy supposedly in his room and doing it, and some things. Yeah, it is a funny thing, and about credits, and then everyone fights for their names on credits, and that's something that's negotiated. And if you look at old movies, we were watching some old movie the other night, and the titles the title credits are all in the beginning, and they have things like PAs, on the title page. Like now that would
Yeah.
never be, because that's all has to be negotiated. So it's like assistant to the editor. This is before the title. It's crazy. So, I guess you'd have to interview, casting directors and agents to get the lowdown on why some of that stuff is the way it is. And,
Oh,
Amazon owns IMDb, so I guess maybe talk to them.
I've reached out to a couple famous casting directors, never heard anything back, but fingers and toes crossed.
There you go.
Now comes the Real Ghostbusters. I used to watch this every Saturday morning when I was a kid from the time it first aired. How did you
Yeah.
how did you get so lucky to do the first voice of Janine?
Well, I didn't know it was the first voice, but I didn't know anything about it. It was just sort of, I was just sent. I met an agent here, Jeff Danis, that I knew, who did commercials in New York, actually. And I called him up, and I think I went to see him, and he he said, go over for this. And I said, okay. And I auditioned for it. And I did not audition with a New York accent or anything. They didn't want that. I mean, I just did kind of like my voice, but just a little younger and sweeter. Hello, Ghostbusters, please hold. It was kind of like that.
Yeah.
And then I left, and then he called me a few weeks later and said I got this cartoon series. I didn't even know what that was. I mean, I didn't even know, you know.
You never saw the movie?
I seen the movie?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I had seen the movie. It didn't really, it was just like all I had was like a monologue to audition. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't want Hello Ghostbusters. They didn't want that. They just, this is show business. Things change, and they just wanted me to talk like me, which I did. And then, and he said it was like something like, 65 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and which I did. I might have even done more. I'm not even sure. And it was all the original cast, and that's how that happened.
Mm-hmm. You sound so spot on like Annie Potts, though. Like, you marinate her vocal personality.
But that was I think there was an accident, really, because I mean, I always did a lot of dumb blondes, so I always did things that would be like that. And my mother's from Brooklyn,
Mm-hmm.
and I grew up in Queens, so that's all in me.
Yeah.
And then when the first day, they had a very inexperienced director. The first few shows
Mm-hmm.
was replaced, but I don't know. All the producers were there, and then they said, "Oh, could you do a New York accent?" And I said, "Oh, sure." And so I did it, and that the that was that's what they wanted. Till they didn't want that anymore. And then there was all this stuff with how she looked, and that she was too trashy, and that it was a bad influence for children, and it was a crazy time.
Yeah. Did you ever work in the studio with Dave Coulier and Arsenio?
With Arsenio, yeah, but Arsenio, Lorenzo, and myself, we were all replaced at the same time.
Yeah.
For reasons, but yeah.
Which
So
is
I wouldn't be with Dave.
Yeah, which is terrible because you guys were the best, I thought.
Thank you. Thank you so
I,
much.
I remember just being terrified though at how realistic the animation was, as a kid, and just how scary they made the ghosts look. Like there was this one where I think you were gone by this point. It was the one where there's this killer giant chicken on the loose, a weird chicken as they called it. The episode was called Poultrygeist, and to this day I watched it not too long ago. It is terrifying.
Wow. Well, the original animation, you don't do, you don't see the animation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You just do the
You,
voice.
the voice, and then they animate it, right?
Yeah. Well, with anime, you see the animation. It's not really anime, whatever it is. You see the stuff because it's usually like, let's say, Japanese. It's made in Japan, and it runs in Japan, and then you dub it into English, so you're seeing it. So it's a different technique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very unusual process, but I guess they've been doing that since back to the old Looney Tunes days.
Well, it's very expensive, and it takes a long time, and then they're matching as my understanding, they're matching the artwork to your performance, which is way easier for the actors than anime, which is kind of funny because original animation pays so much more than anime, and anime is kind of harder, I think. It's just different. Also anime, you work by yourself. Original animation, you work with other people in the room, usually.
Mm-hmm. So have you ever done stand-up comedy?
No, no. I took a class once, and I thought, I don't want to, I don't like to stay up late, and I hate being around smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And because back then you could smoke in all the clubs and bars, and I thought, this isn't for me. And I just got up and I cried. Anytime in the class, tried to do anything, I would just start crying.
Yeah, I figure I didn't know whether or not because we both know Carrie Snow and Rich Scheidner.
Oh yeah, sure.
I interviewed Carrie, and then the next week she had her stroke.
Oh, is that what happened. I knew there was something. I'd seen it on Facebook, but I didn't know exactly what it was. I just saw these people wishing her well. Do you know how she's doing?
She's doing really good, from what I understand. And a couple comedians I know in the Bay Area have started having fundraisers for her and stuff.
Oh, wow. Was it a very bad stroke?
I don't know. I don't know the volume of it, but I imagine it wasn't that bad because she looks like she's pretty coherent, and she
Yeah,
and she
that's
looks
what I
good.
remember the impression of, of what I just saw, but I didn't, you know, um, hope she's doing well. She's a fun gal. She was in my acting class for a while too.
Yeah, she's a very nice lady, and yeah, I had a whirlwind of emotions when that happened. I was like, oh God, please don't do this to me, Carrie. We just started a friendship. Was one, and then the other was like, if I gave her her last interview, I'm honored to do it, But I'm glad she made it through. I really am.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
So you've continued working in everything, voiceover and acting. Which do you like more?
Um, well, it just sort of depends, like, I have a lot of, um, anxiety for auditioning, you know what I mean? So it's
We all have
much
that.
easier to audition voice-wise now because, first of all, you could just do it again. Or sometimes you do it at home. Um, and I used to get all freaked out, going to, like, Sony or Warner Brothers for, parts, and then seeing all the people, and, so there was a lot of stuff that goes with it. So voiceover, you don't have to deal with all that. But I love it all. And, I welcome all the opportunities.
hmm Do you ever get invited to conventions?
I do, but the last 2 years was certainly not something I was going to be doing. I've done Comic-Con a few times
hmm
and panels on that, but after the big bus accident of 2016, there was no way I could be, take a big crowd like that and all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, going back to Shirley Temple, as you were saying earlier in the show.
Yeah, when I was like 6.
Well, I had this joke in my stand-up. I said that um, when I was I talk about how I've always gotten into trouble. I've always had a quick mouth and everything. I said when I was in elementary school, we were making Shirley Temple drinks in class, and I was being disruptive. And the teacher said, "Thomas, can you tell the class what's in a Shirley Temple?" And I was like, "Her husband." And she grabbed me by the
Really?
ear. What?
You said that?
No, it's a joke. And
Oh.
she grabbed me by the ear, threw me in timeout, discreetly gave me a fist pump, and said, "Good one." Now that's a teacher.
Oh, this is your stand-up act. Okay.
Yeah,
So do you still do stand-up?
yeah. Not so much here in Reading where I'm staying at. I'm down here helping my mom right now. But when I'm in the Bay Area, I do it, and I'm planning on moving to Los Angeles and doing it within
Oh,
the next year or so.
cool.
Because I've been doing it 12 years, and yeah, I went through a long period where I was just doing it as a hobby and stuff, and then leading up to my accident, and
Well, yeah, that sort of slows you down.
yeah,
See an accident like that.
I was back on stage within a month of getting out of the hospital, even though I was still fragile and everything. I took it easy in the beginning, and then once I made a full recovery, I was just doing several a night and going up and everything until I
Oh,
moved.
wow. Is that in your act about your accident?
I did jokes about it in the beginning, but then it got to a point where like people wouldn't laugh because they thought that if they did laugh, they like felt sorry for me or something. So I just took it out for now.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way you frame it, because I've
Yeah.
had some, I've thought about doing a performance piece about it, but I knew it was too close. Like I couldn't. You have a picture of the expression getting thrown under a bus. Well, uh, but I mean, there's a lot of ways to go, but it has occurred to me. I'm just not ready to do that.
Oh, you should write a one-woman show. I'm planning on writing a one-man show.
Well, perhaps I will.
If you do, I'll definitely go see it.
Thank you.
Well, Laura, you are a very sweet lady, and I thank you for your time tonight.
Of course.
And I hope I get to meet you someday.
Oh, that would be fun. And you don't want to ask me? Did you want to ask me about anything more current? Or?
Oh yeah, do you have any upcoming projects you want to plug?
Well, it's funny. Like Digimon's having a whole renaissance.
Mm-hmm.
So, I did that for a few years, and then.
Forgive me for not asking about that. I wasn't familiar with it.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's all anime, and that's a whole different world. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people love that.
Yeah.
I get just as much fan stuff about Digimon as I do for Ghostbusters. So
Mm-hmm.
Ghostbusters, I get a lot of foreign, a lot of people from England and stuff like that. So, and then of course there's lots of work, that's more anonymous. You know what I mean? Like I do
Yeah.
a lot of ADR. So, um, but um, we're good.
Awesome. Well, you keep up the good work,
Same
and
here, and keep healing.
absolutely, and I'll stay in touch with you.
Oh, that would be fabulous.
Awesome.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize it was a holiday.
Oh no, no, I don't celebrate Columbus Day.
Yeah, I didn't know now it's Indigenous People Day or something, but that's why when I made the time, I just didn't realize where we were at, and so I apologize, which I didn't do when we first spoke. So.
Oh, don't worry about it. Today is Chevy Chase's birthday and Sigourney Weaver's birthday, so I'm gonna celebrate their birthdays. Watch Deal of the Century.
So there you go. All right then. Well, you have a terrific night.
You too. Have a good night.
Bye, sweetie. Bye.
Bye bye. Well, there you have it. Laura Summer. Ain't she a sweetheart? Thank you so much, Laura. You're a very sweet and kind lady and very strong. And I'm glad we got to connect and relate and talk about your career and stuff. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!